I think that part of the problem that we have in this world is that we mix up our priorities in terms of when to be nice and to not be nice. For example, on some of the news stories that I read, I see just horrid comments that, for lack of a better term, I can't even believe are allowed there in the first place. And it's even more shocking when the comments aren't removed. For example, with WBAL TV, one of the news stories is that there was a man who had committed an armed robbery, and he unfortunately succeeded in wounding the store clerk. And to make a long story short, never mind that the FBI is asking if anyone can help identify who the armed robber was. Someone who calls himself Pants Up, Don't Loot, and this comment was 23 days ago, by the way, and someone had to also like that comment, apparently. This was his comment. That didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing. The white man didn't force him to. And it's like, okay, so despite that the suspect is apparently African American, by the way, I admit that I don't watch half of these videos. I prefer to do most of the reading in the news stories, but despite that, the suspect is apparently African American, and unfortunately there is a lot of crime within the African American community. This guy, the Mr. Pants Up Don't Loot person, has to go be a troll here, and for lack of a better term, he has to add fuel to the fire, and he has to try to make two wrongs into a right. And it's just getting old. And I'm not saying that I haven't done things along those lines in the past where sometimes I've said things that I shouldn't have said, or I haven't said things I should have said. My point being, I think that people need to start standing up to the hatred, even if people are going to be, for lack of a better term, even if people are going to be foolish. And I gotta say, in one instance, I think that I was successfully able to do that because when someone was talking about, oh, how only, Christians are added to terror list, and oh, it's the Democrats being fascists and stuff, and this and this and this, and I'll link to the conversation on Twitter, unless this woman thought that I was totally being dumb, because I had pointed out that someone was using an article from 2014 to try to make his case about banning terror watch lists. To make a long story short, when I dealt with it, when I didn't, for lack of a better term, when I didn't put up with her crap, either A, she thinks I'm an idiot, and I'm just going to browse over an email to see here. Well, apparently not, because I can still see some of her stuff. I can still see who follows who and what, but I mean, I wouldn't even try to follow her, and unfortunately she's one of those people who claims to be conservative and yet can say the most awful, and she also claims, by the way, to be a pro-Israel person, and yet she's willing to just make, for lack of a better term, totally anti-Semitic comparisons. And oh, yeah. Like in terms of, oh, she's saying that basically, let me give you the one example here. Let's see. So she says one of Hillary's campaign leaders even called for FDR-style internment camps for Syrian refugees. Of course, she basically couldn't answer this. So I said to her, equating me and the other Twitter user in question to that, guys, this is bad as equating Syrian refugees with Jewish refugees during World War II. None of us is saying that, oh, we ought to, we ought to have a terror list and we ought to round up Syrians and this and this and this and whatever. And it's just amazing how, also this person is kind of speaking out of both sides of her mouth too. And so I addressed it, and she continued to make all these crazy claims, and she continued to say things like, as Secretary, she said, in terms of Clinton, as Secretary of State, she signed off on admitting known MB terrorists while Obama put Christian veterans flying American flags on their front porch on terror watch list. Democrats, the party of fascists. And so, of course, she went on and on and on, basically. Point being, she knows that she eventually lost the argument because I said to her, and she hasn't responded since, she said that oh, we ought to ban the terror list and this, and it's, just the Democrats being fascists and all that. Well, I haven't heard a peep from her since, because when I pointed out that, hey, if we ban the terror list, then, God forbid, a terror attack might happen, and she would end up having Jewish blood on her hands, because the terrorists would target Jews like me, and if we had a terror watch list, perhaps terrorists who were on that list wouldn't have been able to attack Jews like me, and Jews like me wouldn't be dead in terror attacks. And even if a lot of people were on the terror list mistakenly, better to have people on the terror watch list, better to have people on the terror watch list and be mistakenly safe than mistakenly sorry. And she'll also have to answer to a Jewish Jesus as to why, if we ban the terror watch list, she will have to answer as to why Jews like me are dead if a terror attack happens. So, obviously, I addressed the hatred, I addressed her craziness, I addressed her speaking out both sides of her mouth. And I think that's what more people have to do. We can't just sit there and say, oh, stupid comment, just don't even respond to that one. And this and this and this. I think we need to stand up and say, you know what? Enough. And we need to say, okay, if you're going to be foolish, you're going to have to eventually look at what you're saying, look at what others are saying, and you're going to continue down the path you're continuing down. You know what? That's your problem. And when you know that you can't respond, or when you know that you get blocked because people, for example, don't want you saying that, oh, you're pro-Israel, and then you would ban a terror watch list that would protect Jews. So it's just at a point people have to say, you know what? There's got to be a balance between not giving attention to haters and standing up to hatred at the same time. And it doesn't need to be a fire with fire thing.